All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Hashira Half Hour. We are super excited today to be here again in person, ready to talk about episode 2 of the Swordsmith Village Arc, Yoriichi Type Zero. Oh, man. So, I'm Emily, of course, as always, and we're your joint hosts this time around. So, pass it off to Hannah.
What's up, everyone? That was the longest 2 months of a wait in between episode 1 and 2, so I'm happy it's over.
What's up, y'all? It's me. It's Bryan. I'm still here. Honestly, episode was exactly what we needed. As a manga reader, we know what's coming next, and this was the perfect little fun time before we get into the real meat of the season.
Absolutely. So let's just jump right in. We open up on one of our Hashira making an entrance. What did we think of this first impression?
Literal worst first impression of any of the Hashira. Like, I'm pretty sure I talked about this back in the Hashira meeting episode in season 1, but again, this is why I don't like Muichiro. It's this scene specifically.
Fighting words, Bryan. You gotta be careful.
I know. I know the Muichiro stands will come for me. There is also, I know Noah's also going to be like, what? When he's listening. But, hey, such is life, right?
This is a Muichiro hate account. I'm kidding.
It's not. So.
No, reminded why I don't hate him. I will say, I don't hate him. He's just my least favorite Hashira. I'm sorry, but it is a really rough introduction. And we've had some really rough ones. I think really the only one that we really haven't ever had like any problems with has been Mitsuri. She's just been cool the whole time. Even like Gyu at very first was like trying to kill Nezuko. So we're going along with the theme of, are we going to change our minds on him? I hope so, because I did not like him in this episode at all. I mean, he knocked out my boy. What can I say?
I hope so, too. The joke that we've been making consistently is like, this is such a freaking Gen Zer. Sorry, Gen Z. But like, low-key, right down to the blue hair, like... Sorry, Bryan!
Isn't he technically, like, he could be considered Gen Z.
I am Gen Z.
Oh, our little baby. Honorary millennial. It's a rough introduction. We've got, like, kind of, just like Tanjiro says, it's like he's not wrong, but, like, them's fighting words, because there's an approach. There's a way to talk to people, and Muichiro does not seem like he either is aware of how to do that, or that he cares, even if he does know. So, not the best introduction in the world. But in addition to the Hashira being there, we open up on a scene, of course, and the reason for this kind of, like, argument breaking out is a tool that exists in the Swordsmith Village, and a keeper of the tool as well. So, why did you think at first that this was such an important tool?
Look, you're coming up with questions on the fly. I'm so proud of you. Oh, gosh. Has it been stated if this is the tool that Mitsuri mentioned? Like, we don't know if this is the same thing or if this is something else. But, I mean, he looks like the man in the dream. He has the earrings. He has 6 arms. Pieces are falling into the puzzle of what's, maybe going to happen with this character. And it seems pretty important, especially coming from Kotetsu, who's saying, this, like, he is trying to say that I will not let you do anything to this. I will survive torture, whatever. And he doesn't give him the key until he knocks Tanjiro out, so...
I mean, yeah, when Kotetsu said, yeah, he is built with 6 arms, because that's what he needed to replicate based off of the actual swordsman that this was based off of, we were like, oh, excuse me? He needs 6 arms to replicate one man with 2 arms? That's ridiculous. And he can also do 108 moves. Like, no action figure these days can do that, let alone someone who is, like, from the Sengoku period. Come on now, like, that's top of the line. Hasbro, where you at, man?
Well, and while we're on that, actually, let's just remember for a moment that we are still in, like the Taisho era. And so this is like the 1920s Japan kind of thing. The level of intricacy and, like, the way that we see this tool move a little bit later on, like, this is kind of an insane invention to have in an era of no electricity.
Yeah, it's I was thinking that. I'm like, man, this doll moves like not even like mechanical dolls move now, practically. Like, I'm thinking Disneyland, but like the mechanical dolls on a ride, like maybe the brand new ones that they've had in the rides since like 5 years ago kind of move more like fluidly. But if you look at the ones that were made in the 1960s, 70s, they're like,
we're adding Pirates of the Caribbean here.
And also, it has, like, indefinite endurance as well. Like, because it's insinuated, at least here at the beginning, that this is, like, operated with a key, like a turnkey doll kind of thing. A wind-up toy, essentially, is what it is. It can go for quite a while as well, fighting almost as well as the Hashira that are looking to use it for some training. Better, possibly, than Tanjiro and other people on his level, and it's a doll. So I just think that, like, the innovation then of the Swordsmith Village and the people that would have made this is, like, nothing to be reckoned with.
yeah, I mean, it's definitely better than Tanjiro. Like, can we talk about the no food, no water situation with Kotetsu being quite the harsh trainer, and the reason he wasn't getting food or water was because he wasn't getting a hit on him. So, I think that's like a good segue there.
Yeah, I mean, honestly though, Tanjiro's been through some tough training. Gotta say though, this one's been the hardest to watch for him. Like, being starved and being like, oh, thank God there was rain to save me from dying. Like, what is Kotetsu doing? Like, I get it, he's trying to make him better, but cruelty, man, cruelty worse than episode 1.
Oh, man. Ay,
Oh, God.
Kotetsu's the actual villain of the show. Kotetsu's like, you were expecting me, but actually, I'm Dio.
Oh. Sorry, I didn't know what the reference was.
You got it. You got the script though, Hannah. You were expecting Muzan, but it was me, Dio. Oh my god.
No.
The JoJo reference.
God, we gotta do JoJo references.
I have only watched, like, okay, very controversial take. This is gonna get us canceled. I've only watched, like, the first 8 episodes of JoJo, and I just can't get into it yet. I need to try. So, Craig, I will try. I will try.
We were canceled by the Moichiro stands earlier, now we're being canceled by the JoJo stands. Oh no, that's not good.
That's like a lot of anime fandom. I tried also JoJo as well. I made a TikTok about this. I can't decide if I like the art style or not, okay? Let's be real. I feel
That's
like
fair.
Jolene, like the newest like protagonist of the show, she butt ugly, I'm not gonna lie.
Oh my
but,
god.
like, Jotaro, gorgeous man. Like, I'm just gonna say it. Like, I have opinions. People may not like them. There it is, folks.
Back to Kotetsu.
Before we really get canceled.
But, like, can we talk about, like, this is a 10-year-old, though? Like, kind of, like, getting saved initially by Tanjiro, like, not able to really feel like he can defend himself against Muichiro the way that he would like to, but then he's, like, a drill sergeant for Tanjiro.
And it all stems from, like, his hatred towards Moichiro.
True.
Yeah, his words to Moichiro that he wants Tanjiro to say to him. He's savage. He really hates Moichiro, which, I mean, you can't blame him. He was treated very poorly by him. He clearly doesn't have a filter at all. So, maybe being around Tanjiro will help.
I mean, you know what they say, right? When one of your enemies shares an enemy, they're no longer an enemy, they're a friend. And I think that's what reunited them here. Like, both of them were like, man, we are in tough circumstances dealing with little blue-haired boy. But nonetheless, we're going to prevail together. And I think I'm going to make you better than him. And I think that's what's important to think about is that, like, you already see someone coming around to Tanjiro when Tanjiro didn't even care about the doll, really. He was more so concerned about, first off, being polite and interrupting and mediating a fight, and then he just got dragged into the training. He wasn't there for it to start. He was just wandering the forest. So keep that in mind as well as you watch.
It also takes somebody pretty unpleasant for Tanjiro to not like them, and to be very open about that right up front. We've only seen that, we've seen him lose his temper, like, a very few handful of times, and him losing his temper is still, like, mostly polite. So...
But he even did at the beginning of this episode, because what did Moichiro do? He started to threaten Nezuko. Like, essentially. So, that's kind of his trigger. Like, you say even, like, you can say she's ugly, and Tanjiro is just, like, a completely different person, so...
Not to mention he backhanded a little kid for no reason. He did.
I mean, you gotta be Team Tanjiro in this moment. Like, he can see both sides. Like, he says, like, Moichiro, what you're saying, okay, like, it's right, it's probably really not wrong, but then he talks about the fact that, like, swordsmiths and swordsmen have, like, to work together, that swordsmen can't do what they do without swordsmiths. And he's right about that, too. So he's really trying to fight for both sides, and, you know, he's right.
And that just brings us full circle again, because we've got this incredible tool that was forged by the swordsmiths, and so, like, Morichiro can be whatever he wants to be, but he's there to practice with this tool that they made, right? So, like, he's contradicting what he's already said himself. He would not be able to train and, like, get what he calls, quote, a good training session without this tool that was developed by the swordsmiths to help make the Hashira and the Demon Slayer stronger. So, on that note, we can talk about Tanjiro's training a little bit more. We'll go back to that. Yeah, our boy is, like, on the verge of death.
Literally.
He's, like, literally, we get this entire, like, afterlife sequence, which is so extra. But...
That afterlife scene, Hannah was really looking forward to it, so I'm gonna step away from that. But everything leading up to it, right, where he was saved by Rain, and then he was like, "Man, this is tough." All of the comedic faces he made, like, thank you, Twitter, for all of the memes that you've given us this morning. We needed the laughs today because every little face Tanjiro made was super perfect. And I mean, even him hanging from a tree. Emily made the joke first, and I'm gonna quote her here. But George of the Jungle, anyone? Hello.
In Netflix's live-action Demon Slayer, Tanjiro will be played by Brendan Fraser.
Oh, no.
It's, like, physically painful to me.
Hinokami, Kagura. That was my best Brendan Fraser.
I'm gonna get slapped with, like, a Netflix cease and desist.
Oh, no.
Oh, man.
Okay, you said thank you, Twitter, for the memes, but honestly, thank you, UFO Table, for animating so many hilarious Tanjiro faces in this episode. He really was... When did he look normal in this episode? Like, maybe an eighth of the episode, his face was normal. I love anime. No, I texted both of them beforehand, and I was like, I can't wait to see Tanjiro cross the Rainbow Bridge.
Aw. Not like he's a little dog being...
Oh, no.
It's so bad.
Oh, no. I mean, we have to also remember that Tanjiro's still not, like, fully healed yet, so poor boy is, like, still recovering from a 2-month coma, and Kotetsu's like, no food or water for you. It's like, wait, he's here to recover? Not to get worse? Hello? Please stop. No, it's, they went ham on the faces and the comedy in this, which is great, because it's, like, still important to Tanjiro that he's training and getting better, because he's unlocking something new here. But it's hilarious at the same time. He's getting his ass absolutely whooped. And as a Tanjiro stan, I still loved it.
I think that kind of brings us going forward. Like, what did you guys think of Tanjiro's ability to kind of find this new technique mid-training, again, when he's at such a low point? Just kind of tell me about what you guys thought of how it correlates to Tanjiro's character and kind of how it builds his overall presence as a character.
I think that in general, there's, like, this idea that maybe there's something to be learned when you are on, like, the verge of death or something. Like you tap into, like, such a desperation to survive. I think that you might figure out something that you hadn't thought about before, or, like, your life flashes before your eyes and you realize something, like, from those memories. This kind of struck me as, like, one of those moments where he's, like, forced into such a state of desperation that he kind of needs to, like, surpass his limits and go beyond, like,
Plus Ultra!
Alright.
Alright, I'm gonna head out now.
No.
We're referencing a lot of animes.
We are. But that is kind of what he, like, is literally forced to do in this moment, because up to now he's really relied on his sense of smell and, like, what he calls the opening thread, or, like, an opportune moment kind of thing. And this extends beyond that, because this is almost like using that skill that he does already have and building upon it with, like, a sense of foresight to be able to not only detect that moment, but the preceding moments. So that maybe he can land the strike that he needs to, and also not get hurt or injured, which he's not been great at so far.
Yeah, like you said, it's like, it's a theme. It's a common theme in the show now. Like, when you're pushed to your breaking point or pushed past your limits, something happens. You know, that's kind of how he unlocked, Kamikagura, was his life was flashing before his eyes. In this moment, his life is flashing before his eyes. He's literally crossing the bridge into the afterlife and somehow got dizzy, and I still don't understand that scene. Is there, like, some kind of Japanese meaning behind the massage? I want to look that up, because it was hilarious, but it was so random. I don't get it. But I digress. It's definitely a funny way to get there, and still a very thematic. It just goes along with things that we've seen. Things have been unlocked at different times for him, and even, we can look back at, like, Blood Tier State in the Entertainment District, which we don't really know what that was. We kind of talked about the fact that he was just pushed to his limit and, like, so angry that he cried blood, but again, he's being pushed to the limit. He's being pushed to that, like, breaking point, pushed to death, essentially, and it unlocks something new for him. So maybe he needs to just continually be put in battles and almost die.
He unlocked his swag.
Okay.
It's a Soldier Boy song. It's like, unlock the swag, unlock. No one? Alright, well, someone out there will get my reference.
But, I mean, these are all really good points, and we're kind of jumping around the timestamps of this episode, but I think I want to step back for just a moment, because it's so important for him to continue to get stronger, obviously, to, like, drive the story forward, but I think that it's really important that he does get to fight with this tool, and we end up learning a little bit more about this tool from Morichiro's crow, too, which is, like, another funny scene, but she does give us a little bit of information about the tool that can clue us in, I think, a little bit, maybe to some of these states that Tanjiro has been in, and what we learn is that the tool is modeled on a swordsman who lived over 300 years ago that was a sun breather. And Tanjiro hasn't really been able to find out much about sun breathers other than that they exist. That's kind of what he was relying on Rengoku's family for. Yeah. And obviously, like, we haven't really heard much back about the book that had ripped pages quite yet. So this is, like, a possible clue moving forward for him.
I like how Tanjiro asked immediately, though, but, like, he's not using sun breathing, right? And the crow was offended. First off, out of everything that was said, Tanjiro was just spitting facts back, and the crow got real upset. So, I mean, get wrecked, homie. That's all I got.
That's all you got? I'm, like, thinking about all the answers that we just got, even from last episode, because last episode is the first time we see this man's face, and we see this other character that looks like Tanjiro. Everyone's kind of wondering. I've been watching some people that are anime-onlys trying to theorize, and it's really funny to watch, but we do get answers, because we find out the swordsman is from 300 years ago, so obviously it's not someone that he knew at all, and obviously, too, the man that he was speaking to in that dream was not Tanjiro's father. I don't think that's a spoiler at this point. That was not Tanjiro's father. That was not baby Tanjiro in his hands. So, cleared that up in this episode. But also, Moichiro is a descendant from him. So, what is Tanjiro exactly? It kind of all brings us back to that point, because we're getting this feeling that, like, he's this child of destiny, that there's something that's connecting him to sun breathing, but now Moichiro is the one who's the descendant. Question mark? Mm-hmm. So, more answers, more questions. Very interesting story development moment there, for sure. And also, Tanjiro is just like, well, he's not a sun breather, because he would know. He's trying to figure that out himself, so.
Right. And granted, you would have to expect some limitations on an already incredible doll, but maybe they can't breathe. But
can't breathe back.
It's fair. A lot of development, and Tanjiro does eventually get a little bit stronger, so he is granted a meal. Finally, our boy finally gets to eat. It's not soup, but he does get finally to eat a meal, and we see him take a bite. So that's a big step forward for our boy. And I think that it gives him that final push that he needs to, like, kind of help begin to round out some of that training. What do you think?
I will say one of my favorite things that they changed in this episode from the manga was, in the manga, Kotetsu tells Tanjiro, you can have rice and tea and blah blah, and in the anime they had Tanjiro like beg for it. He's like, can I have rice and tea and some pickled something? And I was just like, wow, he's literally begging for the food. I liked that change for sure. But yeah, we're rounding out this quick little training arc, and we're seeing some development out of it. Tanjiro now has this ability that he unlocked where he can sense more than the opening thread. He got a hidden, even though it didn't really affect the doll at all. So,
as Kotetsu promptly pointed out, wow, you finally got a strike in! Even though it didn't really flinch the doll, you did good, bud.
Here's some food. Thank you.
And I think at this point, right, like, you're looking back at the overall Demon Slayer kind of arc here, and each arc has had its own little, like, training session, right? And that's the nice part, is that even though this episode wasn't, like, jam-packed with things, we do still get a lot of development, and there are a lot of important moments in this episode. So I think that's just to kind of say about Demon Slayer as a whole, like, every episode has its meaning, even if it's not every episode being, like, a beautifully animated, balls to the wall fight scene.
There is some really nice movement still, though, in this episode. Yeah. And and obviously, again, coming back to this doll that we're watching them fight, obviously more disjointed than the movement of the person it would have been modeled after, but still, like, very fluid motion, even when it's knocked down an arm of the six, which, like, again, I don't like Hashira, but however, that doesn't mean that it puts up, like, much less of a hard fight, and Tanjiro continues to get better and better and better at fighting it, and then we kind of are coming up a little bit on, like, some of the events of the end of the episode here, but Tanjiro realizes, between recognizing the preceding events and the opening thread together, he could land an actual strike through the neck, just like a demon. But he hesitates. Why does he hesitate?
Because he's a good kid. He doesn't want to break it. He just went through this whole thing with Kotetsu. Kotetsu was so mad because he didn't want it to break, right? And now he's training Tanjiro so that he can get back at the guy he's mad at. And Tanjiro's like, well, like, I don't want to break it because that's why he's training me, is because he's mad the other guy broke it. And the problem is if he hesitates. They didn't mention this in the anime. I think this is mentioned in the manga as well, that, like, when he started, Yoriichi had just, or not Yoriichi, the doll had just, like, the wood. Words are hard. Wood! Why is that word hard? Anyway, this time he has actual swords. Mm-hmm. So if Tanjiro hesitates too much, the doll will kill him. And so Kotetsu's like, I don't want you to die, you're a good kid. And so Tanjiro then does it. I want to also say, this popped out to me, and it might be because of my fangirlness over Tanjiro's voice actor, but I thought it was interesting how this whole episode, we kind of mentioned, he was being very, like, how did you word it?
I don't know. I think I might have said, like, guttural. I don't know.
He just sounded kind of silly the whole episode. Just very like, ah. He just started shouting, like, I will do this! Like he's in the middle of a real battle. And I thought that was really cool, like, to see the change in, like, his perception of what he was doing, I guess. He's just been like, ah, the whole episode, and now he's like, I gotta do this. Like, he's fighting a real demon. So I thought that was a really cool switch over right there.
I think so, too. Very cool voice acting on the part of Hanai-san. But he does land the hit. He gets the permission from Kotetsu, and that's kind of what he needs to finish this out. And he is able to land a hit, which at first doesn't seem like much. But then a few moments later, something big happens. And the head of the doll begins to crumble, And out of the hole that appears in this doll, there's what looks like a sword popping out.
An old sword, too, from when the doll was built, right? So we can assume that this sword, first off, has some history behind it, and that someone a very long time ago built an incredible sword because it's still standing, right? Yes, there's obviously going to be some, like, issues with it. It's probably 300 years old at this point. But nonetheless, like, the prize has now been revealed. And I think this is kind of what Mitsuri may have been alluding to. Maybe Mitsuri has been around the Swordsmith Village a little bit longer, but at this point, right, Tanjiro's kind of able to claim that as, like, hey, like, Muichiro didn't do this, like, and he's a Hashira. So, I got a new sword now.
It's like a sword in the stone moment. He's like the chosen hero to like pull the tool out that's gonna like vanquish demonkind. I don't know. But like, what are the odds that nobody else would have found this in 300 years? Kind of crazy.
That might have been the treasure.
Yeah.
That might have been really what Mitsuri is talking about, because it's like an unknown thing that no one really knows about, is that like, oh, if you do something, you'll find this special weapon. It might be that inside the doll. It's just like something that's been passed along to the generation of swordsmith, that there's some kind of treasure or weapon hidden here, but what is it? We just might have figured that one out.
Going on, do you guys have favorite moments from the episode? All right, well, I'll start with mine. I think my favorite moment from this episode is probably going to be when Kotatsu kind of first rolled up, and he was talking about how this was, you know, something from his family, and he was explaining to Tanjiro really the backstory of the doll. His, parents or his dad, I believe, unexpectedly died. He didn't have any other siblings, and this was kind of his last stand at making a legacy for himself. And I think that was just really powerful on his end to be able to kind of stand up for something that he really believed in and wanted to continue forward with.
So my favorite moment is the fact that I was crying over Tanjiro hanging from a tree. It's when Tanjiro goes up to Kotetsu and, he's explaining to him, he wants to defeat Muzan, and the fact that he goes into this whole, like, I might not make it, like, I might die in the process, but I believe that the people I know will protect Nezuko and turn her into a human and, like, keep going. Like, my dreams will be fulfilled through the people that I know, because I've created this group of people, these friends, this family, and swordsmiths are a part of that, and I'm, like, tearing up, like, oh, he's talking about the fact that he could die, and he's just, like, so willing to put his life on the line so much, and that's been a theme, he said that when he was fighting Rui, he's like, even if I get slashed in the process, because he knows that he has friends that will continue that goal of his, but him just, like, outright saying it to someone, I was like, oh, I'm gonna cry, and he's literally just, like, hanging from the tree with one arm, just, like, I'm like, what is this? Why am I crying, but also laughing? And it was just so, like, so powerful, as always, because he's always saying powerful things, but also I'm just laughing my ass off because he's hanging from the tree.
That's our little monkey boy. We love him. I have a favorite moment, too, that we actually did not touch on yet. Obviously, Tanjiro's getting into it with Muichiro at the beginning of the episode, and, Muichiro kind of brings up the Nezuko box going on, and Tanjiro, like, smacks him away. And Muichiro doesn't like that and knocks Tanjiro out, which is not okay. However, as Tanjiro's coming to, we hear two voices. And we've got Kotetsu there, but Muichiro's long gone. So as we kind of pan out and see a little bit of who it is, this second adult male voice, it's Haga Nezuka, who has been missing. And, like, the whole village is looking for him. And he is obviously kind of so far shown, like, a foul mood to Tanjiro because he's not happy about the sword continually breaking or chipping or whatever. But in this moment where he thinks that Tanjiro is not awake, he's like, oh, like, if he doesn't wake up soon, I'll go ahead and carry him back down the mountain. Which is, like, so sweet. This is one of my favorite side characters of the show. I will take as much of him as we can get because he's so funny to me. I love that he's, like, so angry and so focused all the time. But this is, like, an actual genuinely sweet moment where he's going to do, like, the right thing, thinking that nobody is, like, really watching. Like... Like, showing that he actually does, in fact, have a soft spot for Tanjiro and that he doesn't just hate him. It's really cute.
It is. I'm glad you brought that up. Can't wait to see more of him.
Yup. Same. I'm not going to apologize for the person I'll become.
Yeah.
When that mask comes off.
Same. Just
Anyway.
throwing it out there. I wanted... Do you have any last thoughts before I say something? Because this is kind of off topic, but I was thinking about it on my way here, and I was like, I have to talk about this, and I almost forgot. I just wanted to say, the fact that we had to wait 2 months in between episode 1 and 2 was wild. I think that it was a crazy experience, really. You know, we went to this Los Angeles thing, and that was almost exactly 2 months ago. That's February 18th. Here we are, April 16th. We got to see that first episode for the first time, and then the long wait. A lot of people, I think, would say, like, oh, that's, like, awful. You don't want to ever do that again, right? Well, I wouldn't trade this experience for the world because, like, we got to go to Los Angeles and see it. And, of course, I saw it, again, a few times in just regular theaters. And then it was just, like, the wait for the second episode. But as I sit here and I think about just, like, watching Entertainment District episode to episode, and now we're here, we went and we saw it all together, and now we're watching it all together. I'm just really thankful, and I'm just so happy to, like, have everyone here, this group of people, to watch it with, including Tom and Johnny. Special shout out to my wonderful husband, who also watches the show. I love you, but he watches and he waits and binges, so he's not here, but I'm thinking of him too. And I'm just really thankful. I think this is just so much fun and the highlight of my week. Aww. And the last 2 months went by like that, which I'm really thankful for too, because I don't like waiting for things.
That's fair.
I mean, I talked about this before we started recording. I'm awful at keeping surprises for things. So, I mean, the fact that I haven't slipped on any manga things yet, proud of myself. But also kind of sad to think with how fast the season will move. It will feel like a blink of an eye and the season will be over. Because if you thought Entertainment District was fast-paced, next week, let me tell you, you are in for a surprise, folks.
I am so excited. It's going to be a whirlwind, but I couldn't be happier to be here with my friends. And we're all also really grateful for any of you that are coming along for the journey and that have been here with us so far or that are newly joining us. So thanks for hanging out with some friends that are hanging out.
We're all a group of friends at this point.
We are. Any other last thoughts?
This episode is great.
And
people are hating on it because it's slow.
One thing I will say that the manga had that we didn't get to see, and I really wish we would have, but there is a scene in the manga, and you can go look it up because it is canon, where Tanjiro's crow and Muichiro's crow have a little quick discourse, and Muichiro's crow says to Tanjiro's crow, "What's up, lackey?" And Tanjiro's crow claps back saying, "What are you looking at, eyelash bitch?" And I didn't remember that until Hannah pointed it out, and then I was like a little bit sad inside because I was like, this needs to be on the screen. So I'm hoping maybe like they reprise that in a later episode.
Honestly, funny as heck. And also, quick. Also, second favorite moment, last minute shout out to the Taisho era secret at the end.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. We didn't talk about the new ED either. We're
true.
all over the place.
We are. It's fine. This is what happens when we record live.
We don't have something in front of us to...
I'm sure you guys are still enjoying it, right? Let us know if you're not.
Actually, don't. It'll hurt my feelings.
No!
But we did get the ending song this time for the first time, and it was so cute.
Oh gosh.
They love Mitsuri. She's the favorite for the animators this time.
Yep.
But then I am going to call Bryan out for a minute, and he said that Muichiro looks like one of Tengen's wives.
Okay, it's like accurate though. Kind of looks like Suma, and I was like, why is she here?
I mean, what you're saying is not totally wrong. It actually is probably a little right.
All right, Tanjiro.
It was super cute, though. I'm gonna need to go back and listen to the song again for sure.
Yeah, I was so just like squealing over the visuals that I forgot to like actually listen to the song, so I'll do that when I get home.
100%. And again, the Taisho Era secret was super funny and cute. I loved seeing Tanjiro and Nezuko in the little swordsmith masks.
They're so cute.
Oh, I love my children.
All right.
Well,
I think that probably just about does it this time. So, looking forward to next week. For those of you who did think this was a slower episode, a lot was learned, a lot to be had. I do think it's going to pick up really, really quick. You know what they say is like, they sometimes save budget a little bit for the fights. And so if you see something a little slow and stagnant, you know that something big is coming pretty soon. And still beautifully animated. Wouldn't expect any less from UFO Table.
The backgrounds were very gorgeous too.
Mm-hmm.
As always.
But I think that's about it. So tune in next week. Episode 3 of Swordsmith Village.
don't forget to follow us on TikTok at Hashira Half Hour or on Instagram at Hashira Half Hour. Our Twitter is at Hashira Half. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that download button for us. That's how we track how well we're doing. Give us some comments. Let us know what questions you'd want answered. And of course, love seeing you here. Bye.
Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, because if you're watching this way, it means you're on YouTube. So hit that subscribe button, leave a comment. We might answer in a future episode. Like, do all the fun things. Umai.
Umai.